Sparrer is a principal at Bospar Public Relations in San Francisco, specializing in the tech industry. And great to have you back. It's always so interesting to hear what's going on, and you're kind of on the forefront with a lot of different tech companies. Of course, AI has been huge. How do you see that? Are you working with AI companies? How do you tell that story?
Every day a new AI company comes in, and every day we're hearing a new angle about what AI means and what it represents. And I was thinking, as a cub reporter, I once had to go to board meetings,
Yes.
and they were really boring, and that's why they're called board meetings. And I was thinking, wouldn't it be good to have AI staff those board meetings? Because right now we're seeing that most reporters can't be spread to all those different board meetings, and that's a great place to get information.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting too, because it's local news that covers those school boards and city councils and things like that. And we know local news has not been as viable lately financially. So this would be a way, I guess they'd look at the minutes or something, and that's how AI would do this, summarize.
Yeah, you get them every time you have a Zoom meeting. So why not every time you have a board meeting? And that way newspapers and local media could, really look for patterns there and find things to report on in a way that's compelling and interesting, as opposed to lots of boring video of people in a meeting.
And in like a paragraph instead of 2 hours sitting through a meeting.
Absolutely.
Talking about who knows what.
A much better use of time.
Yeah. Do you find when you pitch AI companies to reporters that they're like scared of the technology? Like how does the media see AI right now?
Well, I think the media sees AI as like a pre-adolescent almost, and it's growing up, and like any pre-adolescent, you're scared of what's going to happen, but you're excited about the journey ahead. I think there's things that people are seeing AI that are already being useful for summarizing meetings, for note-taking, for that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. I think that there is concerns, of course, that AI is going to come after journalist jobs, mm-hmm. and we have seen examples where that's been tried. It spectacularly failed. Mm-hmm. So I don't think journalists are quite worried about that so much as they were just worried about people not reading or consuming news anymore.
Yeah. And in terms of digital media, we've seen a lot of layoffs, not just digital, but the LA Times, famously cut a bunch of jobs. How do you see the media landscape?
Well, the media landscape is kind of frenetic, and journalists are looking for things that are a lot more plug and play. We find that for brands trying to raise their, top of mind recognition, that newsjacking is more important than ever before, and really just having all the elements for a journalist. So it's not spoon feeding so much as it's a full ready to go meal that you just have 15 seconds to go in a microwave and it's ready.
Yeah, and when you say newsjacking, what do you mean?
Newsjacking is the idea that there's a big story in the news that has legs, and you need to insert your brand into it to provide a fresh new reason for that story to be forwarded or advanced. Mm-hmm.
And in terms of PR perspective, you mentioned providing, information, maybe some background, statistics, things like that, even videos or images and stuff like that, just to help the journalists do their job. Because a lot of these people are editing and they're writing and they're producing and they're doing 3 or 4 jobs right now.
And then they also have to do all their social media posts as well.
Right.
And so being able to have all those elements and even interviews with other sources teed up so that a journalist can fact check, that a journalist can hear a different point of view. All that's critical these days to making sure that a story is going to cut through, because with a journalist receiving 100 to 200 pitches as many times a day, they need to make sure that everything is set so they can be able to turn that story and get to the next.
Yeah, get really quick. So, and I know you have been on the remote work bandwagon pre-COVID. You were like so early with this. How is that going? Do you find that it's still something that employees desire?
Oh, employees love it. Mm-hmm. And what's really weird is this return to work edict that we're seeing. And I think it's particularly hypocritical because we're going to see on Earth Day all these companies saying, oh, we support the environment, but we're forcing our workers to come in. And commuting is the source of greenhouse gases. So I just don't understand how you can square that.
Yeah. And you found the workers at home as productive as they would be at the office.
Not only do I find that, but there's research from economists at the Federal Reserve who find there's no difference in working from home versus working from an office. So when you look at it in the final equation, what's best for the environment, what's best for families, working at home is where it's at.
Yeah. Now, and there's been a lot of talk about culture, like maybe you miss out on culture and stuff. How do you make sure that you implement that when people are kind of all over the place?
Well, we have all sorts of ways of getting people together. Right now, for example, our book club is making everyone read Kara Swisher's Burn book. And this is one of the top journalists in Silicon Valley, and all her thoughts from the past decades of tech, from going to the early days of the Mozilla browser all the way now to AI. And so by having that kind of perspective about what a tech journalist is looking for and what everything has happened, during this time, it gives great perspective and a great sort of, way of understanding the economy in a way that most people can't. And so that's why we want people to read it.
Yeah, she must have some amazing stories because I've been reading her stuff for 25 years. So there's so much that's happened since then.
I think acerbic is not acerbic enough for Kara Swisher.
Well, what she's seen has been amazing. So Curtis, thank you so much. It's always great to have your insights when you're in New York.
Thanks, Jane.
Thanks.